2 weeks ago, I was at the Revolt Summit, which is a summit for primarily just black people. I think a lot of celebrities there. Rick Ross was there. Diddy is there. He runs the organization. And I was on the panel as a black police officer, and literally everything I said to support the relationship between law enforcement and the black community, I got booed. So that sentiment is the reason why I think, kind of drew me to writing this book and wanting to express this is another side of it that people may not understand, is that this is what it's like actually being a black man in America on the police department.
I'm Dave Rubin, and joining me today is a former police officer and now author of the new book, Beaten Black and Blue, Being a Black Cop in an America Under Siege. Brandon Tatum, my friend, welcome back to the Rubin Report.
What's going on, Dave?
I'm doing all right. As I said to you right before we started, just trying to survive the revolution. And you?
Oh, doing the same thing. We both in this together, and I'm sure we're both trying to make a concerted effort to do something about what's going on and keep a positive attitude. So I think we're on the same page, man.
Indeed we are, that very much about keeping a positive attitude and kind of knowing what you're saying and all that. That is sort of what the book is about. We'll obviously get to that. I know most of my audience is familiar with you already. You've been on the show a couple times. But for those that aren't, can we just do a quick recap of the bio of Brandon Tatum? What made you a guy that's writing a book about policing and doing crazy YouTube shows like this?
Yeah, the funny thing is, man, I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, a young man with parents who were divorced and all that other stuff. And, some people may think that I would have fallen down a particular path, but I believe that God had a plan for me. In college, I played football. I was leaning more left. I got saved in 2008. And I never in my life thought about being a police officer. I knew I was going to play in the NFL. I did not get drafted in 2010, although I was in the draft. And it really changed my life. I became a police officer after doing the ride along. And my political views changed, my worldview changed in a significant way. And I was a police officer for 6.5 years. I did the SWAT team. I was a field training officer. I was a spokesperson. I did almost everything that I could on the police department. And really during the Barack Obama's era is where things begin to really change significantly for me. And with the attacks on police during that period of time and the rhetoric coming from the White House, this book idea came to my mind, man. I said, you know what? I feel like I'm getting beat up from both directions. I'm getting beat up as a black man trying to be a police officer by the black community. And then I'm getting beaten up for wearing a uniform in general by the population that have been swindled by the propaganda from the mainstream media and these political leaders. And I said, one day I'm gonna write a book. And I wrote the book last year, and leading into this year, I made some additions to it because of the George Floyd situation. However, it's gonna be published November 30th, and I'm excited about it.
So there's obviously a ton to talk about there related to when things changed with policing and how it changed. But you mentioned sort of getting it from both sides, and we've talked about that a little bit before, but can you just go into that a bit more, how going into these black communities as a black man, in some ways you told me last time, it kind of helped at times because it gave you a little cred, but then in another way it was sort of like you were seen as like a traitor or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. Some things, some people, they were reasonable, rational individuals. Sometimes they felt the connection with me because I look like them, and maybe I sound like them because I got kind of a country accent. It's kind of gone away now. But at the time, I was a lot more country. And so people maybe identify with me, and I was able to communicate with individuals that some officers couldn't. More so than not, people would criticize me because I'm black and you working for the white man and you a traitor to your people. And, even when they would spew rhetoric as this the white man's system, a systemic racism, it's like, look, I'm a part of this system, and you are proclaiming that I'm a problem and that I'm involved in systemic racism. And even just last week, I was 2 weeks ago, I was at the Revolt Summit, which is a summit for primarily just black people. I think a lot of celebrities there. Rick Ross was there. Diddy is there. He runs the organization. And I was on the panel as a black police officer, and literally everything I said to support the relationship between law enforcement and the black community, I got booed. So that sentiment is the reason why I think, kind of drew me to writing this book and wanting to express this is another side of it that people may not understand, is that this is what it's like actually being a black man in America on the police department.
Did I see a clip of that from Revolt? Did you post a clip of that getting booed, or am I thinking? I think I may be thinking of something else. It was not that.
They may have posted, Tatum Report may have posted that I had attended there, but you know what? The funny thing is they scrapped, when they posted this live, because it was pre-recorded, they scrapped everything me and that other black officer said.
Wow.
And we said a lot of profound things that I think could be invaluable to the community, and they deleted it when they posted it, which is, it's shameful.
So what do you make of that? I mean, you were invited. It's not as if they don't know what you think, right? Like, it's not that you're going to suddenly get there and they're going to be like, holy cow, this guy, doesn't fall in line with us exactly. They know that to begin with. What do you make of even being invited? And then were you able to get across any of the ideas to some of the people that maybe were booing you?
Nah. I mean, there were people there that already agreed kind of with the sentiment. The police officers that were there, all the black cops that were there supporting the event. Some people already agreed, but the others, they had their mind fixed. And you can see that it's a rigged situation where you have, them having other voices to express the totality of the black experience. And then when the push come to shove, when the audience is bigger than 50 people, when it's going out to the millions of people that follow the Revolt network, they completely silence your voice. And the crazy thing is that they allowed the misrepresentation of police officers and hateful, divisive rhetoric or divisive rhetoric. They allowed those panelists to have a highlighted voice, and then he deleted everybody else that said anything different. So to me, it speaks to the bigger overarching issue that there's a effort and a push in order to block any thought that's different than the mainstream idea they want to push.
Right. So you mentioned, okay, the way the black community sometimes felt when you'd go into these neighborhoods, and then you mentioned the other side, that you were getting it from both sides. You're sort of describing that already. But what was that like as a police officer? You're saying, okay, I'm going in to do my job, but now here's the people on the outside who are also hitting you for it.
Yeah, and one thing that I learned before I became a police officer, that I had no idea what police officers actually did. And then when I became a police officer, I was like, oh my God, man, we do stuff that people have no idea about. I mean, we're put in situations, the things that we see, the stress that we are under, the decisions that we have to make in a split second when, you take it to trial and attorneys have months, years to deliberate and figure out a strategy to argue your, half a second decision. But we would get pushback, with the George Floyd stuff, not the George Floyd, because I wasn't a cop during that time, but Michael Brown and some of these other incidents. People just projected negativity on you. You had to be a murderous thug, even though none of that happened in the city of Tucson where I worked. And it was hard, man. It was very disheartening because I knew the men and women who work with me and worked around the country, putting your life on the line for other people. I mean, this is not a video game, man. This is not, like a pre-recording or something. I mean, you mess up, it's real life. This is real at real time. And the men and women, I knew their families, a lot of people are just great individuals who have a passion for supporting their communities, and to see them get just ragged on with false narratives being pushed was something that was like, you know what, I got to write a book and I got to tell the story and correct some of this stuff because people aren't getting a fair evaluation of law enforcement.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.